beautiful people. Good morning. Welcome to Bible in a Year with Lovie. We are on day 138. Day 138, we're reading the Life Application Study Bible, 3rd edition, New Living Translation. Today we're going to be reading 1 Chronicles 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to flip over to John chapter 6 and start it off. Probably read about a third of it. So, if you guys are ready, let's dive right in. Because I already told God I drove all night long, but I'm not going to try to go to sleep until I post Bible in a Year. So let's get her done. 1 Chronicles chapter 4. Let's dive right in. Alright, now, y'all, we still got some names to go through, but this reading is not going to all be names, but this first part is. So here we go. The descendants of Judah were Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Shobal's son, Reiah, was the father of Jahath. Jahath was the father of Ahumai and Lahad. These were the families of the Zorathites. The descendants of Edom were Jezreel, Ishma, Idbash, their sister Hazelelponi, Penuel, the father of Gedor, and Ezer, the father of Husha. These were the descendants of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrathah, the ancestor of Bethlehem. Asher, the father of Tekoa, had two wives, named Helah and Nara. Nara gave birth to Ahazam, Hefer, Temeni, and Hahashtari. Hahashtari. Whatever. I don't know how you pronounce that. Whatever. Helah gave birth to Zereth, Izhar, Ethnan, and Koz, who became the ancestor of Anub, Zobeba, and all the families of Aharhel, son of Haram. There was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers. His mother named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. He was the one who prayed to the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from all trouble and pain." And God granted him his request. I think we should write that prayer down or take notes here. You know what I'm saying? He prayed to the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from all trouble and pain." God granted him his request. Lord, I say that same prayer. Caleb, the brother of Shuha, was the father of Meher. Meher was the father of Eshton. Eshton was the father of Bethrapha, Paseah, and Tehina. Tehina was the father of Ir-Nahash. These were the descendants of Rechah. The sons of Kenaz were Othniel and Seraiah. Othniel's sons were Hathath and Meonathai. Meonathai was the father of Ophrah. Seraiah was the father of Joab, the founder of the Valley of Craftsmen, so called because they were craftsmen. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephaneh, were Iru, Elah, and Nam. The son of Elah was Kenaz. The sons of Jehalalel were Ziph, Ziphah, Tiriah, and Asarel. The sons of Ezra were Jether, Mered, Epher, and Jalon. One of Mered's wives became the mother of Miriam, Shammai, and Ishba, the father of Eshtemoa. He married a woman from Judah who became the mother of Jared, the father of Gedor, Heber, the father of Soko, and Jekuthiel, the father of Zanoah. Mered also married Bithiah, a daughter of Pharaoh, and she bore him children. Hodiah's wife was the sister of Naham. One of her sons was the father of Keilah the Garmite, and another was the father of Eshtemoa the Maacathites. The sons of Shimon were Amnon, Rena, Ben-Hanan, and Tilon. The descendants of Ishi were Zoheth and Ben-Zoheth. Shelah was one of Judah's sons. The descendants of Shelah were Er, the father of Licah, Lada, the father of Marisha. The families of linen workers at Beth Ashbea, Joachim, the men of Kozeba, and Joash and Seraph, who ruled over Moab, and Jashubi Lehim. These names all come from ancient records. They were the pottery makers who lived in Netaim and Gedera. They lived there and worked for the king. These names. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Jerub, Zohar, and Shaul. The descendants of Shaul were Shalom, Mibsam, and Mishma. The descendants of Mishma were Hamuel, Zakur, and Shimei. Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but none of his brothers had large families, so Simeon's tribe never grew as large as the tribe of Judah. They lived in Beersheba, Molada, Hazer, Shual, Bilhah, Ezim, Tolad, Bethuel, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazer, Susam, Beth Biri, and Sharam. These towns were under their control until the time of King David. Their descendants also lived in Edom, Ain, Rimmon, Token, and Ashan, 5 towns, and their surrounding villages far away as Baalath. This was their territory, and these names are listed in their genealogical records. Other descendants of Simeon included Meshabab, Jamlech, Joshua, son of Amaziah, Joel, Jehu, son of Joshabiah, son of Seraiah, son of Asiel, Elionai, Jacobah, Jeshahiah, Asaiah, Adiel, Jesimiel, Benaiah, and Ziza, son of Shiphi, son of Alan, son of Jedaiah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. These were the names of some of the leaders of Simeon's wealthy clans. Their families grew, and they traveled to the region of Gerar in the east part of the valley, seeking pasture land for their flocks. They found lush pastures there, and the land was spacious, quiet, and peaceful. Must be nice. Some of Ham's descendants had been living in that region, but during the reign of King Hezekiah of Judah, these leaders of Simeon invaded the region and completely destroyed the homes of the descendants of Ham and of the Meunites. No trace of them remains today. They killed everyone who lived there and took the land for themselves because they wanted its good pasture land for their flocks. 500 of these invaders from the tribe of Simeon went to Mount Seir, led by Pelatiah, Neariah, Zephaniah, and Uziel, all sons of Ishi. They destroyed the few Amalekites who had survived, and they lived there ever since. Chapter 5. The oldest son of Israel was Reuben, but since he dishonored his father by sleeping with one of his father's concubines, his birthright was given to the sons of his brother Joseph. For this reason, Reuben is not listed in the genealogical records as the firstborn son. The descendants of Judah became the most powerful tribe and provided a ruler for the nation, but the birthright belonged to Joseph. The sons of Reuben, the oldest son of Israel, were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The descendants of Joel were Shemaiah, Gog, Shimei, Micah, Reaiah, Baal, and Bera. Bera was the leader of the Reubenites when they were taken into captivity by King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria. Bera's relatives are listed in their genealogical records by their clans. Jeiel, the leaders, Zechariah, and Bela, son of Azaz, son of Shema, son of Joel. The Reubenites lived in the area that stretched from Aroer to Nebo and Baalmeon. And since they had so many livestock in the land of Gilead, they spread east toward the edge of the desert that stretches to the Euphrates River. During the reign of Saul, the Reubenites defeated the Hagrites in battle. Then they moved into the Hagrite settlements all along the eastern edge of Gilead. Next to the Reubenites, the descendants of Gad lived in the land of Bashan as far east of Salekah. Joel was the leader in the land of Bashan, and Shepham was second in command, followed by Janai and Shaphat. Their relatives, the leaders of 7 other clans, were Michael, Meshulam, Sheba, Jerai, Jachan, Zia, and Eber. These were all descendants of Abihail, son of Huri, son of Jeroah, son of Gilead, son of Michael, son of Jeshishai, son of Jado, son of Buz. Ahi, son of Abdiel, son of Guni, was the leader of their clans. The Gadites lived in the land of Gilead, in Bashan, and its villages, and throughout all the pasture lands of Sharon. All of these were listed in the genealogical records during the days of King Jotham of Judah and King Jeroboam of Israel. There were 44,760 capable warriors in the armies of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. They were all skilled in combat and armed with shields, swords, and bows. They waged war against the Hagrites, the Jedarites, and Nephishites, and the Nodabites. They cried out to God during the battle, and he answered their prayer because they trusted in him. So the Hagrites and all their allies were defeated. The plunder taken from the Hagrites included 50,000 camels, 250,000 sheep and goats, 2,000 donkeys, and 100,000 captives. Many of the Hagrites were killed in the battle because God was fighting against them. The people of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh lived in their land until they were taken into exile. The The half-tribe of Manasseh was very large and spread through the land from Bashan to Baal Hermon, Senir, and Mount Hermon. These were the leaders of their clans: Epher, Ishi, Eliel, Azriel, Jeremiah, Hodaviah, and Jadiel, whatever. These men had a great reputation as mighty warriors and leaders of their clans, but these tribes were unfaithful to the God of their ancestors. They worshipped the gods of the nations that God had destroyed. So the God of Israel caused King Pul of Assyria, also known as Tiglath-Pileser, to invade the land and take away the people of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh as captives. The Assyrians exiled them to Hala, Habor, Hara, and the Gozan River, where they remain to this day. Chapter 6. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The descendants of Kohath included Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The children of Amram were Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. Right. The sons of Aaron were Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Eleazar was the father of Phinehas. Phinehas was the father of Abishua. Abishua was the father of Bucky. Bucky was the father of Uzi. Uzi was the father of Zerahiah. Zerahiah was the father of Marioth. Marioth was the father of Amariah. Amariah was the father of Ahitub. Ahitub was the father of Zadok. Zadok was the father of Ahimaaz. Ahimaaz was the father of Azariah. Azariah was the father of Johanan. Johanan was the father of Azariah, the high priest at the temple built by Solomon in Jerusalem. Azariah was the father of Amariah. Amariah was the father of Ahitub. Ahitub was the father of Zadok. Zadok was the father of Shalom. Shalom was the father of Hilkiah. Hilkiah was the father of Azariah. Azariah was the father of Seraiah. Seraiah was the father of Jehozadak, who went into exile when the Lord sent the people of Judah and Jerusalem into captivity under Nebuchadnezzar. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The descendants of Gershon included Libni and Shimei. The descendants of Kohath included Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The descendants of Merari included Mali and Mushi. The following were the Levite clans listed according to their ancestral descent. The descendants of Gershon included Libni, Jahath, Zimah, Joah, Iddo, Zerah, and Jetheri. The descendants of Kohath included Aminadab, Korah, Aser, Elkanah, Abiasaph, Aser, Tahath, Uriel, Uzziah, and Shaul. The descendants of Elkanah included Amasai, Ahimoth, Elkanah, Zophai, Nahath, Eliab, Jeraham, Elkanah, and Samuel. The sons of Samuel were Joel the older and Abijah the second. The descendants of Merari included Mali, Libni, Shimei, Uzzah, Shemiah, Haggiah, and Asaiah. These are the parts of the Bible that are just really hard to get through for me and probably for anybody else. But we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. David assigned the following men to lead the music at the house of the Lord after the ark was placed there. They ministered with music at the tabernacle until Solomon built the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. They carried out their work following the regulations handed down to them. These were the men who served along with their sons. Heman, the musician, was from the clan of Kohath. His genealogy was traced back through Joel, Samuel, Elkanah, Jeroham, Eliel, Toa, Zuph, Elkanah, Mahath, Amasai, Elkanah, Joel, Azariah, Zephaniah, Tahath, Asir, Abiasaph, Korah, Azhar, Kohath, Levi, and Israel. Harmon's first assistant was Asaph from the clan of Gershon. Asaph's genealogy was traced back through Berechiah, Shemiah, Michael, Basiah, whatever, Malchijah, Ethni, Zerah, Adaiah, Ethan, Zimmah, Shimei, Jahath, Gershon, and Levi. Heman's second assistant was Ethan from the clan of Merari. Ethan's genealogy was traced back through Kishi, Abdi, Malach, Hashabiah, Amaziah, Hilkiah, Amzi, Bani, Shemer, Mali, Mushi, Merari, and Levi. Their fellow Levites were appointed to various other tasks in the tabernacle, the house of God. Only Aaron and his descendants served as priests. They presented the offerings on the altar of burnt offering and the altar of incense, and they performed all the other duties related to the most holy place. They made atonement for Israel by doing everything that Moses, the servant of God, had commanded them. The descendants of Aaron were Eleazar, Phinehas, Abishua, Bucky, Uzi, Zerahiah, Meraioth, Amariah, Ahitub, Zadok, and Ahimaaz. This is a record of the towns and territory assigned by means of sacred lots to the descendants of Aaron, who were from the clan of Kohath. This territory included Hebron and its surrounding pasture lands in Judah, but the fields and outlying areas belonging to the city were given to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. So the descendants of Aaron were given the following towns, each with its pasture lands: Hebron, the city of refuge; Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Debir, Ain, Judah, and Beth Shemesh. And the territory of Benjamin, and from the territory of Benjamin they were given Gibeon, Geba, Alameth, and Anathoth, each with its pasture lands. So 13 towns were given to the descendants of Aaron. The remaining descendants of Kohath received 10 towns from the territory of the half-tribe of Manasseh by means of sacred lots. The descendants of Gershon received by sacred lots 13 towns from the territories of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and from the Bashan area of Manasseh east of the Jordan. The descendants of Merari received by sacred lots 12 towns from the territories of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the people of Israel assigned all these towns and pasture lands to the Levites. The towns in the territories of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin mentioned above were assigned to them by means of sacred lots. The descendants of Kohath were given the following towns from the territory of Ephraim, each with its pasture lands: Shechem, a city of refuge in the hill country of Ephraim; Gezer, Jokmeam, Beth Horon, Ajalon, and Gath Rimmon. The remaining descendants of Kohath were assigned the towns of Aner and Bileam from the territory of the half-tribe of Manasseh, each with its pasture lands. The descendants of Gershon received the towns of Golan and Bashan and Ashtaroth From the territory of the half-tribe of Manasseh, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Issachar, they were given Kadesh, Daberath, Ramoth, and Anim, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Asher, they received Mashal, Abdon, Hukok, and Rehob, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Naphtali, they were given Kadesh in Galilee, Hammon, and Kiriathaim, each with its pasture lands. The remaining descendants of Merari received the towns of Jokneam, Karda, Ramon, and Tabor. From the territory of Zebulun, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Reuben, east of the Jordan River, opposite Jericho, they received Bezer, a desert town, Jahaz, Kedemoth, and Mephath, each with its pasture lands. And from the territory of Gad, they received Ramoth and Gilead, Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jazer, each with its pasture lands. Ooh, okay. Y'all, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry because I'm literally reading the exact words of the Bible, but nobody said that these words, some of these books are hard to get through, okay? Which is why people get discouraged and quit reading their Bible. It's a fact, and we still have, we still have at least two more chapters of a bunch of names before we get to the stories in Chronicles, okay? So y'all just bear with me. That's the reason I'm reading 3 at a time, to try to just go ahead and knock it out, So tomorrow we'll finish off the ones that have all the names, and then the next day we'll get into the stories, okay? Right now, let's flip over to John chapter 6. John chapter 6. If y'all ready, here we go. After this, Jesus crossed over to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A huge crowd kept following him wherever he went, because they saw his miraculous signs as he healed the sick. Then Jesus climbed a hill and sat down with his disciples around him. It was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration. Jesus soon saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he asked, "Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?" He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. Philip replied, "Even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them." Then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with this huge crowd?" "Tell everyone to sit down," Jesus said. So they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same thing with the fish. And they all ate as much as they wanted. After everyone was full, Jesus told his disciples, "Now gather the leftovers so that nothing is wasted." So they picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left by the people who had eaten from the 5 barley loaves. When the people saw him do this miraculous sign, they exclaimed, "Surely he is the prophet we've been expecting." When Jesus saw that they were ready to force him to be their king, he slipped away into the hills by himself. That evening, Jesus' disciples went down to the shore to wait for him. But as darkness fell and Jesus still hadn't come back, they got into the boat and headed across the lake toward Capernaum. Soon a gale swept down upon them, and the sea grew very rough. They had rowed 3 or 4 miles when suddenly they saw Jesus walking on the water toward the boat. They were terrified, but he called out to them, "Don't be afraid. I am here." Then they were eager to let him in the boat, and immediately they arrived at their destination. All right. And that's where we're going to stop for today. Man, I love that story when Jesus fed the 5,000. Well, actually, it would have been more than 5,000. 5,000 just was counting the men. And I'm sorry, guys, that today's wasn't just all that incredibly interesting. I mean, what? I can't say it wasn't interesting. Everything in the Bible's interesting. I'm just tired. So, where I did pray before I did my Bible in a year today was just more or less just, let me get it read today so I can get some sleep. I'm tired. God understands. Hopefully you guys do too. Remember, guys, if you want to see a change, you have to be the change. We lead by example. We follow by design. If it ain't a God thing, it ain't a good thing. I'm going to keep y'all in my prayers. Please, likewise, keep me lifted in your prayers, me and my family. I love you guys. And don't forget to love like Jesus. I'll see y'all next time.